From the Russ Center for Media in downtown Cape Girardeau, welcome to Focus on Southeast, a program on issues, events, and people impacting Southeast Missouri State University. I'm Dan Woods with KRCU Public Radio. On today's show, we'll learn more about a new partnership to create a pipeline to medicine and veterinarian studies for students at Southeast, as well as future Teacher Day. Our first guest is Sarah Sargent. She is Clinical Director for the Center for Speech and Hearing here at Southeast, and she's here to tell us about the center and its services. Sarah, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
First, tell us a little about yourself and how you came to be here at Southeast.
So I am originally from Cape Girardeau, born and raised. I went away to school to become a speech-language pathologist. We recently moved back, and I've had a deep connection to SEMO. My mom was part of the education department.
Okay.
So I spent a lot of time in Scully growing up.
Okay.
And so when I saw this job posting open, I knew it was something I would be very interested in and glad to have my roots back in Cape and help out the community and SEMO as a whole.
You got to come back home.
Yes, I did.
Which is cool. Well, tell us a little bit about the center and what some of the services are and some of the things you do there.
Sure. So our clinic, it not only serves clients throughout Southeast Missouri, and we service the lifespan, 0 to 100.
Okay.
And we treat and diagnose different deficits. It could be articulation, phonological disorders, stuttering. It could be cognitive communication disorders, aphasia following a stroke. So we serve a lot of different areas, which is something a lot of people don't know about speech-language pathologists in general. But not only do we service the clients, but we're a learning clinic for our undergraduate and graduate students in the communication disorders department. So they have an opportunity to not only hone their skills as speech-language pathologists, but get clinical clock hours to be able to apply as a speech-language pathologist to get a license. So it's an amazing building. It's a freestanding building. It was built in 2017, so it's fairly new. And it's phenomenal. We've got 12 therapy rooms, a diagnostic room, an audiology suite. We also, within the past few years, 2 of our faculty members, Amy Herron and Emily Obergener, created a language stimulation lab. So it is for our clients who have higher sensory needs, or even our kiddos that just need to move and play. I mean, you learn best when playing. So that has been one of our more recent additions. So it's not only just servicing our clients, but we're also, creating a future for our speech-language pathologists.
Talk about the size of your staff. How big is the staff there?
So I am the clinic coordinator, and I do have an administrative assistant, Jasmine. And I have a GA, Kyla, and a student worker, Chloe. And as faculty, we supervise in the clinic.
Okay.
So there's 5 of us faculty members that supervise in the clinic. And I think one of the coolest things is all of us have been out in the field before returning to academia. So we have that real world experience to help our clinicians learn and grow from. So,
how unique is it to have this facility here in our region?
Very unique. I have been to two other universities for my undergraduate degree and my master's degree, and this clinic is worlds away from that. Most university clinics have like 4 or 5 therapy rooms. It's not its own freestanding building, not like ours at all. We have the opportunity to service a lot of different clients because of the space that we have. And we also offer teletherapy services. So, our clients that are in more remote areas, we can still service whatever needs that they may have. So we have that unique ability as well. And the other thing that we do within our clinic is we do hearing screenings and speech and language screenings for different schools throughout our community. So we're not just unique in our own building, we try and help the community as well.
Do the area hospitals and other clinics send people to you all in a lot of cases where there's things that they maybe aren't equipped to deal with?
Sometimes, and sometimes it's also just with the nature of healthcare. We have adults who, through their insurance, aren't able to receive services anymore. So they can come to our clinic. And a lot of times it's at either a reduced price or completely free. So it is another avenue for those adults or even kids who don't qualify for IEPs in schools. They can come and receive services here. So, yes.
Talk about what experiences the students receive at the center and what they learn and how that equips them to go out into the workforce when they graduate.
Yeah. So what I try to do as the clinic coordinator is get a variety of clients so that the students have these unique experiences and things that they will experience out in the community or wherever they may go, whether it be a hospital or a school or an outpatient practice or a private practice. And so the other unique part is all of us supervisors have our areas of expertise. So we're able to give the students more one-on-one attention and more in-depth knowledge of our area. Yeah. They also get externship opportunities to go out to different placements and be able to get those experiences as well too.
So what's it like a typical day? I mean, is there a waiting list to get in for folks? What's it look like there at the center?
Yes, there is a waiting list, primarily because there is a high demand for services, and we offer them at such a reduced price or even free that you know, it's a unique opportunity for a lot of different clients. A typical day, we do have clinic open on Tuesday and Thursday from 8 to 11, and then Monday through Thursday we do clinic from noon to 6, and then Fridays we usually try and have that for diagnostics. So we do have a wait list for diagnostics, but we try to get through that as much as we can so that we can service our clients.
Yeah. Got a couple of minutes here. I want to ask you about your therapy groups. Talk about what those are and what happens in those.
Yeah, so we have an aphasia therapy group, and they meet on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and it's for our clients who post-stroke have had aphasia. Okay. And it is an acquired language disorder, so they may have trouble communicating their wants and needs, and this group is able to come together, and it's kind of a community-based, you know, there's a lot of rapport within this group. They know each other really well. And it's an opportunity for them to use the skills that they've learned in their private sessions and apply it to a group setting, which, you know, is more naturalistic. When you go out into public, when you go to a restaurant, when you go somewhere else, you're not just going to be talking one-on-one with someone, you're going to be talking in a group. So it's a very tight-knit group, and we're adding some members to it soon. So it's growing. And there's some other opportunities that we've thought of too for growing, like a cognitive stimulation group. So we have lots of things down the pipeline as well that are coming.
So how can the community find out more about the center, and how can they get in touch with you all?
Sure, so you can call the center directly. You can speak to myself or Jasmine. We do have information on CMO's website where you can directly click a link, and if you want services, you can just fill out that form and we get in contact with you.
Great. Well, Sarah, thanks very much for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
When we come back, we'll be joined by Dr. Timothy Judd from CMO's Biology Department. You're watching Focus on Southeast. We will be right back.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. Let 211 be your guiding light for help with food, healthcare, and other resources.
211, how can I help you?
Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211, get connected, get help.
My mother was always very familiar with her neighborhood, but one day she stopped at the stop sign for much longer than usual. And she didn't know whether she should go forward or turn, and she wasn't even really sure where she was at. It was very unsettling for her.
I felt so much better after my son told me, "Mom, I don't want you to worry or be afraid. I'll be there for you, and we'll figure it out."
Welcome back to Focus on Southeast. Our next guest is Dr. Timothy Judd. He's chair of the biology department here at Southeast, and he's going to tell us about a partnership to create a pipeline to medicine and veterinarian studies for students here at Southeast. Dr. Judd, Tim, welcome to the program.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So tell us about this partnership with St. George's University, I believe.
Yeah, so just recently, the Southeast Missouri State University entered what's called a Memorandum of Understanding with St. George's University, and that's located in St. George's, Grenada. It's been around since the 40s, so it's been there for quite a while. It's an interesting program because they have you spend 2 years there, and then after the 2 years you would go back to the US, or you can go to the UK if you want, and then do all your clinicals back in the US. So they can take a larger number of students because they only do the first 2 years of medical school there, or veterinary school, and then they'll send you off. And they have agreements with hospitals all over the country, so they can place students in various hospitals across the country.
So is this something that initiated at SEMO, or did they approach us, or how did this sort of get started in the beginning?
I'm not 100% sure, but my understanding is they approached us.
What's the benefit for SEMO students to participate in this?
So the program is, we have what's called a 4+4 or a 3+4. So 4+4 means you do your 4 years here, and we have one of our options in the biology degree is a biomedical sciences. So you would be a biomedical sciences major, a biology biomedical sciences major. You would complete that major here, and then at any point while you're here, you can sign up, you can apply to St. George to be part of their program, and they'll actually save you a seat. And assuming you meet the criteria, GPA, and you have an interview, and you have to take the MCAT like all medical schools make you do. And then if you get through all that, then you're guaranteed a spot at their university. The 3+4 means you would do your first 3 years here, so you would do mostly the core stuff, and then we have a lot of electives. So what you would do is then go there, and your first year at St. George, we would transfer back. It's called back transfer, and we would that would count as your 4th year at Southeast. So you would actually graduate from Southeast your first year in the medical school. So it gives you you just basically reduce it by 1 year.
Has this already started, or is it starting in the fall?
It just started this semester.
Just started.
This January.
What's the interest been like? Do a lot of students?
Yeah, we've had a lot of interest, not only for students that are currently at the university, but even some potential students who are looking to come to Southeast.
And there are scholarships I read for students to help cover, I guess, the cost. How does that work?
During the application process, there are scholarships through the university. They also do take, for financial aid, they'll take the U.S. financial aid. So you could use the FAFSA, apply for the government financial aid as if you were going to school in the U.S.
I was reading about the veterinarian part of it. 500 hours of animal experience, I guess. And what I wondered was, are there partner vets here in Southeast Missouri that sort of allow students to come and get those hours of experience? That something happens here?
There are vets, and I believe they do. That's the agriculture department
it's a separate thing.
It's a different department. They run the vet program, but I know some of the vets, and I'm sure they would take students. And I know students we have in our program that sometimes end up working in a vet clinic, so I know they do take students to get hours.
And I read that there's more graduates from this university, I guess, practicing medicine in the U.S. than from any other medical school. So this is
it's a big program.
Yeah.
It's a really nice. I actually had the opportunity to go down there. It's a really nice campus. It's right on the ocean, so there's even study areas where you're outside and you can look over the ocean, and it's really quite the.
So I guess if you're going to study, that's probably a good.
Yeah,
place
it's hard
go.
to get. Too stressed.
So how are things going over in your department, just in biology in general? What's happening over in your area that might be of interest to folks?
Well, we house a couple different things. We have our biology degree, which includes the biomedical sciences, pre-physician assistant, and if you're interested in like genetics, you could do a microbiology and biotechnology. And we also have a very large organismal side, which is wildlife biology, which is our second largest option, and organismal ecology evolution. So if you're interested in studying plants and animals, but not really want to be a wildlife biologist, that would be a degree. And then we have marine biology, which sounds interesting, but we have a partnership with, we are part of a consortium with the Gulf Coast Research Lab. So our students will do the marine biology courses here, but then go spend a summer down there to take marine biology courses at their laboratory, and then they'll get a lot of hands-on marine experience. So that's how they can get the marine experience. We also house environmental science. So we have an environmental science program. And we also have a geographical information system, which most people know as GIS. And we just recently revised that one. So that's something we're really excited about. We just revised the whole program. We even worked with, there's a huge group in St. Louis. They're called the St. Louis Area Working Group, and it's government and industry, and members of that group helped us when we did the revision. So they're excited about it, we're excited about it, because they're...
For folks who may not know what GIS is, talk about that just a little bit.
It's working with maps. So an example would be, if you want to figure out on a landscape, like if we're going to have a flood, how would the flood affect the landscape? How would it affect the people? What would you have to do if you want to plan for an emergency? They use it in wildlife biology to track animals and look at habitat changes. And so it's anything involving maps. There's a variety of uses for it. Even counties looking at different parts of the land and how they're going to use the land would use it. So it's anything involving maps and then coordinates and things like that.
It's a real powerful tool.
Very powerful tool. I mean, the government uses it too. The military uses it. It's all using the satellites and that as well.
So the program's been redesigned. Is this one of those areas that you really sort of have to keep an eye on because it keeps growing and changing?
Oh yeah. And I think we really wanted to get some input from the folks up in St. Louis and even industry around here before when we made and tailor it to more of what their needs are and what things change over time, like math requirements change and other topics change. So we're really excited about the new program.
Let's talk a little bit about this idea of partnership. You mentioned so students can go to this St. George University to do some stuff, and then there's the marine part. How important is it to have these partnerships, I guess, to expand the learning experience for our students?
I think they're very important. For the marine biology students, they wouldn't be able to get hands-on experience in a marine situation in the middle of Missouri.
Right.
The St. George partnership, it's one way to get into medical school, at least in some ways. The nice thing about it is you can apply and they'll save you a seat, but if you choose not to go there, there's no penalty. You can go somewhere else. But at least it's a really good place, but at least you have something to go to. So it provides a goal for students in some cases.
Yeah.
And I do want to mention we have relationships with the parks around the MDC, the MDNR. We have students who intern in those places as well. So those are very valuable. The hospitals and a lot of the doctors in the area and dentists will have our students intern and shadow them. So those are important
Right
as
here
well.
close to home.
Yeah. So we appreciate it whenever they allow our students to get involved in their programs too.
Absolutely. Well, Tim, we're out of time. Thanks so much for being here.
Well, thanks for having me.
Okay, we're going to take a break. When we come back, Buddy Alberson will be here to tell us about Future Teacher Day. You're watching Focus on Southeast. We'll be right back.
Julie was always a voracious reader. She'd carry 2 novels on an airplane because she'd read one on a 3-4 hour ride. And at some point, I began to notice that she would read a page and couldn't remember what she had just read, and she'd have to go back and read it again.
I don't remember much these days after I read, but less does for me, and I love it.
You're not gonna get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff.
Mama!
Like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Welcome back to Focus on Southeast. Southeast recently held its 3rd annual Future Teacher Day to introduce school students from the area to the teaching profession. Buddy Alberson is here to tell us all about it. Hey, Buddy.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So let's talk about Future Teacher Day. How did this get started? It was the 3rd annual this year. How did it get started 3 years ago?
So to my understanding, it was started as a part of an ideal to encourage young students to come into the field of education, since, this was like right, I guess, about the time of the pandemic, I guess.
Okay.
And then it kind of evolved each year. Then last year, was the 2nd year, and I kind of felt bad that they had that storm last year, so it kind of got cut short a little bit. But but it was all based on trying to help this area schools, get people interested in becoming educators and maybe coming back into their schools as the educators after they graduated.
Okay. And so you're the Associate Dean of Educator Preparation. So I guess this falls under your wheelhouse to take care of, right?
Right. So I actually help plan this with some great people from admissions, and a lot of people from FM helped us out as well. And we did our best to make sure we had to do a little scheduling deal, because one thing we found out that when we originally scheduled it, it was during spring break for some of the schools, so we had to do a bump, and then it was reschedule this, reschedule that, but we got it all worked out, and I was lucky enough to get, over 200 students possibly showed up for this, and then have the president of the university there for the greeting, and then Rowdy was there. A bunch of people said they loved having Rowdy. We got a bunch of pictures with Rowdy, so it was a great thing. It was something new for me since this was the first time ever doing it here.
Yeah, it has to be a major recruitment tool, I would imagine.
Yes, it was, and a lot of students, flock into the elementary, early childhood, and middle school and secondary, and this gave the faculty enough chance to meet with them, give them the opportunity to talk to them, and also our students were involved with speaking with them, answering questions from them. So the student engagement along with the faculty, I think, helped a lot of the students come in, and that'll help with the recruitment process as well as we move forward.
Is this for just all the schools in Southeast Missouri? Is there 4 or 5 schools? Give us an idea of the scope, I guess.
So the scope, it was everybody in Southeast Missouri as far as north as almost St. Louis. We even had schools from Southern Illinois came over to this. They left early to make it over here for the for this whole engagement. So it was really a wonderful experience to see schools from Illinois come over and be a part of this as well, as long as our schools here in Southeast Missouri.
Yeah. And you had about 200 students, you said. So has this been growing every year?
It seems like it is growing every year, and we're hoping to be even more next year. I've already worked on scheduling the date for next year, which is April 11th, and we're actually going to move into the University Center, because with the amount of students we had this year, it was a struggle in Scully this year with everything we had going on. So I thought we'll go ahead and move to the UC and maybe even have more students next year.
So give us an idea, kind of what the day looks like when folks get here. What do they walk through? What do they see? What do they do while they're here?
So the day went like they came in through Dempster and check in with admissions, had pictures with Rowdy with the SEMO letters, and then from there we went to the Glenn Auditorium where I basically welcomed them there. Then the president came in and gave a nice welcome to them and told them the importance of education. And then they went over to the Scully building where they got to meet with the student organizations from all the different ed prep organizations and student government. Then they met with people from leadership, middle school, secondary, and also elementary, early childhood, and special education. Then they got to go tour the Evolution Center, which a lot of them love that, going down there and seeing all that technology. Then from there we go to Towers, have lunch at Towers, then the admissions takes over from there and gives them a campus tour, shows them the dorm rooms, classrooms, and then by 2 o'clock they were on the bus heading back home.
That's a full day.
It's a full day.
I read that there's a teacher shortage. 4,000 vacancies in 2023 in the state of Missouri, or something like that?
Something like that,
So this is part of the strategy, I guess, to help with that, right?
Right. And that's trying to get everybody, there's students that are, they're still undecided what they want to do, and we're hoping this kind of maybe gives them a way to come into this field, gives them answers to questions they might have been, juggling whether or not, do I want to be a teacher or do I not want to be a teacher? So this is a way for them to come in, but also a way for the school to identify potential teachers in their school right now to come to our program and actually come back to their school and actually teach at their schools to fill vacancies.
Oh yeah, talk about that, because there's a if it's got a name, the program does, but the idea is to get these students here, get them interested in teaching, they get trained, and they go back home, in essence, sort of, right?
In essence, it's grow your own.
There you go.
They, the schools can identify, students that they think would be potential great teachers, from when they're doing like their cadet teaching in their schools or things like that, and then they can identify and kind of maybe work with them to come cover some of their costs. It's up to the school district on that, but they help identify them, and we try to work with them to get them through our program and then back to the schools themselves.
Okay. You mentioned Evolution, the Evolution Center. Talk a little bit about that for folks who maybe don't know what that is.
So the Evolution Center is a wonderful place on the second floor of Scully that has all this new technology. There's green rooms, there's VR rooms, it's everything that, 3D printers. I've heard that some of the student teachers will come back and print stuff on the 3D printers to take back to the classrooms. It's even there for when they graduate. They can borrow technology from the university and take into their classrooms when they're actually teachers. But they have a wonderful program set up where they learn this technology. They do Google training, they do Apple training, they do anything and everything they can learn on, get their hands on technology that schools will need and to be successful in the classroom with their students.
Because technology, as we know, changes all the time.
That's what we were talking about earlier today. We were talking about how quick technology, what you learn today could be totally different tomorrow. And one thing, staying on top of the technology, especially trying to be a global competitor,
right.
You know, because students nowadays, it's not like when we went to school, you had to read everything from an encyclopedia. Now you can actually see it on a computer and get real live data from, you know, somewhere across the country, across the world.
Makes me think about the days, I have to get the encyclopedia or trying to get an article out of a magazine, and now you can just
pull it right up.
Yeah, things have changed a lot. Talk a little bit about, I know after COVID, a lot of teachers retired. Is that are we getting back to where we should be, or are we still in a build phase? What's going on with that?
We're still in a build phase. I know that we're still trying to place all these, you know, fill all these vacancies, you know, not just in our region, but across the nation as well. And I don't know how much, you know, they're trying everything they can to get, you know, make it easier for the students to get through and make sure they're getting the quality education that they need to be effective teachers. But we're still building on trying to get into the numbers that we used to have prior to the pandemic.
And that the teacher, having them come here to learn about what potential career they could have is really important to that.
Right, and that way they can actually, but the other thing is to learn about all the tools that they would have at their hands. And, you know, because it's nervous when you're trying to figure out what you want to do in life. And so when you're trying to figure, and this is a way to kind of maybe help them understand that, you know, this is a very honorable profession, and it's a profession that's going to be needed from here on out.
It'll always be needed. We've got about a minute here. Before we go, I want to ask you, when you're not taking care of the teacher thing, what else do you do in your job as associate dean?
So I take care of our state and national accreditation. And
that's a big job.
That's a big job. We're actually going to have our national accreditation this fall, so I had to help with the faculty and staff. We typed up an 84-page paper and submitted that already for our national accreditation, and then Title II, which is our federal reporting, and then pretty much whatever the dean asked me to do, I just had to cover up.
Well, how long have you been here at Southeast, buddy?
I started July 1st, so I haven't even been a full year yet.
Oh, of this year?
Yeah, I started.
Or last year?
Last year.
2023.
Yeah, which is great because I was a two-time graduate of the Southeast, and you know, I went through the educator preparation program here as well.
Well, great. It's been good visiting with you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much.
All right, Focus on Southeast is a collaboration of KRCU Public Radio and the Department of Mass Media here at Southeast Missouri State University. And just a reminder that portions of these conversations will be broadcast on KRCU Public Radio. They'll also be available online at krcu.org and on the station's YouTube channel. From the Russ Center for Media, I'm Dan Woods. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to tune in next time when we focus on Southeast.